Are you done checking your email? Okay, good. Ron, let's go. Guys, welcome to Aftermath. I'm Vane Don Vane, and today is Wednesday, May 25th. Welcome. I am here with my very dear friends, Christopher Wokel, Pastor Scott Lessing, and today we are crushing our way through another 2 chapters, sort of.
I have a question.
This week? No. About how, on the book, How Not to Read the Bible. If you're keeping track at home, good luck, because we are way off. We're on chapters 16 and 17. Today. Chapter 9 next week.
Yeah.
Who knows after that? Probably chapter 18.
Yes.
And then after that, we're going completely off the rails, and we're going to be talking about evangelism.
Which chapters are we doing again? Aren't we like doing chapters again and again, over and over?
No.
Back and forth. We're not doing any of that.
No.
Okay.
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, what's your question? Now that I'm done with the introduction to the guys.
What? Well, I'm sure there's some women that watch too.
And gals, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, women listen to your podcast, but it's undetermined whether women actually listen to Aftermath or watch.
18% listen to my podcast.
Right.
Our podcast.
We probably don't have that
And
on
you probably have that number posted like in your office up on the wall. 18%.
He's got a T-shirt that says 18%.
Question.
Yes.
Why did you not introduce our friend as Colonel Christopher Wokel?
Changing it up sometimes,
Okay.
keep it fresh, you don't want to get in a rut.
It didn't bother me. I was surprised that I didn't have some title, but
No, I used Christopher.
I'm not
I used
offended.
the full name.
Yeah, that's fine. My name's Christopher.
Christopher
Yeah, and I
Dobbins.
was formal with
Who?
him.
What?
What?
Christopher Dobbins?
Who's Christopher Dobbins? I mean, Christopher Robin, he's from Pooh Bear, but
Yeah.
Robbins?
no.
Oh, I thought it was Dobbins.
No.
It's Christopher Robin. Okay, we are way off the rails. Just because these guys think we've got a little time today, we don't. They're messing with me for other reasons, and I'm not saying why. So, I thought today was, we're on Easy Street. We're on Easy Street this week, and you need to stop it. Because I thought, don't you think there was an easy topic?
I've kind of struggled with this a little bit. Well, struggle's the wrong word. I've had discussions on this topic in the past. So I was a little bit more comfortable.
Okay, so the topic is violence in the Bible is in essence what we're talking about here. And there's a Richard Dawkins quote that I thought was really hard to read. I read it today. It's hard to read, not just because he's used a lot of funky words, but
He used a lot of crazy big words.
crazy big words, which is whatever. He's just trying to show off.
Yeah.
But I think that it hurts my ears that people think of God that way. I think it's the bottom line. So,
Yeah, he said God's unforgiving, jealous, sadomasochistic, genocidal, vindictive, bloodthirsty, racist, and a capricious, malevolent bully.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things he said.
yeah, well, that's one of the lines.
And that's
but,
you're right. That's very hard to listen to.
yeah, it is
But-
hard to listen to.
I think the reason it's important, though, that I think the reason he put it in the book, that quote, is because there's probably a lot of people who would agree with some of the things that maybe Dawkins said about God, right? And if that's true, that there are people that we would run into who would say, even one of those, that God is vindictive or genocidal. Like those are two that you could say, okay, well, why do you think that? And what about all the mass killing, all the mass death, right, which is genocidal?
Yeah.
Just in the flood alone.
Right.
What do you say about that? You know, how could your God do that if He's compassionate and caring and loving? How can your God do that? And I don't want to follow a God who would.
Right.
And I think Dawkins took it to an extreme, but I think what I just said is what we might hear more of, right?
Yeah.
And if that's true, how we need to be able to have some logical discussion around that and not just say, because we talked about 2 points that we really shouldn't say, well, God is God,
Yeah,
right? That's
right.
just, well,
The no apology approach.
The two
Right.
ways to explain it or approach those.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm not apologetic that's who God is, and
Yeah.
you know, like that people really truly want it. They want the best answer that we can give them.
Yeah.
And that's not it.
That's not an answer.
No.
No,
right?
it's not an
And there's really no thought put into it. Like, well, why would God, kill all but 8 people at the flood? And let's talk about that. Let's have a conversation about that instead of just saying, "Hey, God's God. He can do whatever He wants."
Yeah.
And what was the other one?
The other one was the Bible is wrong.
Yeah, that authors in the Old Testament either didn't hear from God, got it wrong or they lied and they misrepresented God.
Right.
Yeah. And then
And
one
that's-
dude even took out, I can't
Oh
remember
yeah,
his name, but
a church leader back
Marcion.
in 140 A.D.
Yeah.
started teaching that the Old Testament was just completely not inspired by God. That it was completely false.
he took out all the tough stuff.
and took out tough stuff from the New Testament as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm
that
back.
was, yeah. Did you have to go to the bathroom?
No.
Okay, just checking. So, yeah, that's interesting that, that he did that. And that kind of transitioned us. I'm having trouble talking this morning. Transitioned us into the most repeated verse in the Bible,
Yeah.
which was Exodus 34. And I actually have it here, unless you want to read it. Do you have it memorized?
I do not have it memorized, but
And you're a pastor.
it starts with the Lord. It
Yeah,
repeats.
that's
right.
Which does not happen very often in Scripture.
So
I
what is
believe
the
it only
most
happens
repeated
8
verse?
times.
Does that mean the Lord is the most repeated, or is that verse in the Bible comes up as in different spots in the Bible?
That's what it means. That verse and those series of phrases,
The
and
compassionate,
that
he's all those things.
that context
Oh,
is repeated
got it.
throughout
Okay.
Scripture repeatedly.
more
makes
often
sense.
than any other verse.
The Lord,
Yes.
the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. That is repeatedly throughout
Not
Scripture.
word for word,
No,
but
but yeah,
the
but
phrase,
the-
the
yeah,
statement,
yeah.
the overarching
process. Yeah, got it.
is repeated more than anything else in the Bible.
Well, why is that important to bring up today?
Well, I think when we're trying to answer this question, like, how can God do these things, right? If we look at it through the lens that he's compassionate, he's kind, he's slow to anger, abounding in love, he's faithful, he maintains love to thousands, he forgives wickedness, rebellion, and sin, but there's still justice, right? That he's a God of justice, and there is judgment. And as a parent, I would be a bad parent if I just let my kids run rampant and there were no consequences to their actions. And we didn't talk about that today. That's a very easy segue into, well, why would God have judgment? And his judgment happens to be that
Separation.
there's separation, right?
Yeah.
And that's because of the fall. And we have to go all the way. That's why Genesis 1 and 2 is so important, not just from creation, but also what happens when sin arrived into the world. And there's death, right? There's a spiritual and a physical death.
Right.
And that's the consequence. And so we see that throughout Scripture, that the consequence is death, right? And so even though God is all of these things, he also has consequences to our behavior.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting, the two approaches, we were talking about the no apology, God is God kind of thing. For many years, that's just my limited knowledge and
Yeah.
intelligence was like, well, I don't know why he does that. I mean,
But he's God.
He's God. He must have had a reason.
Right.
Who am I to think I know what God's reason
I
would or
was
wouldn't
in the
be?
same boat with you. I was
know?
that way too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so, but that doesn't satisfy. That's not good
Right.
enough.
No.
Right?
Right.
Especially when we're trying to develop our biblical literacy
Yes.
and
Yes.
be able to engage others and have meaningful discussion that teaches them about God, about our
Right.
loving God. We got to have some kind of answer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for that. I thought for sure, without a doubt, that we'd be able to keep this in 6 minutes or less. We've gone way long, almost 9. So thanks for being with us. This is Pastor Scott's fault. I'm just saying right now. And so today, go to YouTube, go to gracecma.org, go to the Grace Men's Facebook page. You'll be able to see what we just talked about earlier posted. This is posted. There's all kinds of great stuff there as well. Past sermons from Sunday and in the past, all recorded for you. Pastor Scott just had a podcast that dropped.
It'll drop this Friday.
I just listened to one. There's a new one coming this
There's
Friday.
a new one coming this Friday.
Oh, wow. So there was one that just dropped not that
2
long
weeks
ago.
ago.
2 weeks ago. I listened to it, and there's one coming up. So keep your eye open for that. And thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you guys. Have a
Take
great
care.
week.